We good?
Yeah, we good. Okay, we're actually returning to the show. People Talking Kali, okay, live with Tuhon Belton Lubas. We just experienced some technical difficulties, so we got a new URL up and running. Hopefully you're tuning into this now. Make sure you share with all your friends because we have a very special guest who took time from his very, very busy schedule. We're going to pick right up where we left off. Okay, Belton, what's going on, good brother? What are you up to recently? What are your latest works?
I just came back from Toronto and got to do some filming there. Then I showed up at a seminar with Grandmaster Bobby Taboada, and I sat on the panel to help test the other guys for completing the art. And then Saturday I did a impact tool device self-defense at a Krav Maga school. And then Sunday flew back, came back around noon. So, I mean, literally left at 11 p.m. Wednesday night, arrived 10 a.m. Thursday morning, started filming, just footage. So, nowadays with a lot of stuff that's out there in the internet and people making documentaries, people putting in, like short clips. So yeah, I mean, it was an opportunity, and I took advantage of that and decided to get part of that. Paulo Rubio from Aperture Fight Films, Aperture Fight Focus, has been doing a lot of documenting and his exploration of FMA, and so he heard I was in town. We set a date, and then coincidentally, we the Balintawak group found out I was in town too. So they said, "Hey, are you coming through?" I was like, "Oh man, I'm actually going for my own seminar." So it was kind of a really mixed. It was a lot of stuff going on. We did go to Graffiti Alley, and we did some sabayan there, and we got into touch with some PTK stuff. I did some Tuan Apollo's double knife, so I did a little bit of double knife drills with him, and then we did some just free flow, I think he put it on Facebook, and he said this. He goes, "Man, that was a weird session. You taught me without speaking," and what he meant by that was for I think it was 15 minutes. We're just going, and I was just giving him feeds, sabayan, break out of sabayan. I cut him in the arm, stab him here, cut him, and I would repeat the same thing. Kind of like when you tell somebody to keep your hands up, you just kind of tap their forehead, tap their face. Then he started adjusting to it. Yes, and he said he appreciated that learning style because he hasn't seen that or hasn't felt that as much. I think very few, he said, has actually taught him in that manner. So,
brother, you said a lot. I want to actually start breaking down two of the things you just talked about. Thank you very much. I saw some of the footage out there, and it looked beautiful. I have a lot of respect for Balintawak from what I've seen as an observer, and I'm definitely looking forward to crossing paths and learning more about it. How do you juggle and balance as an instructor, managing not just these two systems, but a number of different systems?
Yeah, so it's tricky because it's not for everybody. Just so you know, just to clarify, just to give background so people understand where I'm coming from. I'm the training director for Washington for Natural Spirit International. NSI is under Dr. Kelly Worden, where the modern Arnis roots are from him, from Remy Precis, and also Worden Defense System instructor. So that's that part. And then I've got Balintawak, and with the Balintawak, I'm a level 7, so I'm a guru. You don't get guru status or FQI, they call it full qualified instructor, until you are a level 7. A level 7 basically means that you have completed his art, you did up to level 6, and at level 6, you have to produce your own 6, meaning you have to have taken somebody through the system, teach somebody to teach. So really brilliant in that, and GT says the same thing, learn to teach to learn. And so that level 7, there's very few of us have gone through that. In order to get a 7, you have to display 24 techniques of your own, and you can't even show your 24 techniques until you bring somebody to completion. So That's sorry, something fell. I had to pick that up. And then with PTK, I'm a Tuhon, and a Tuhon is obviously you guys know that in the Kali world. Tuhon is there's so many levels from your Yakans to Lakans, Lakan Guru, Matas na Guru, Agalan, Mandala, and then Tuhon. And even within those levels, there's levels within those. So to be more specific, I guess you can say fifth Hagdan Tuhon. So it's it all, how to balance it, I guess, to answer your question. So between those three and the Brazilian Jiu Jitsu and the Muay Thai, I'm a career under Ajahn Suchart. It's nuts, and it's not for everybody. Some people choose to be a martial artist where they can have a full-time job, enjoy and provide for their family, and then come back and do martial arts around like 5 p.m. to 8 or 9 p.m. Some people choose to go full-time, and then when they go full-time, they just decide to focus on the arts and really explore and grow. Some people choose to do full-time martial arts, but their path and their learning style is different, so they don't get to where they need to get to as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Some people get there fast for some odd reason. Maybe they did certain things. They put more time in. I mean, heck, let's be real. There's a lot of mukdojos out there, and there's a lot of people who go through martial arts who've paid for their rank. So I think the journey that you're at, if you're trying to balance all things, is like anything else in life. Can you do 3 different hobbies, have 4 kids, have a full-time job, and then open up a business? I mean, is that feasible? Or can you start with 1 kid, learn how that kid works, start with 1 hobby, get a feel for it, get your rhythm, get your pace, just like anything else,
Right.
just like Sabayan. There's a rhythm to everything. There's a pace. There's a natural rhythm and a beat even within ourselves, and I think people just don't know their rhythm, and if they can't figure out their rhythm, they suffer financially. Their marriage suffers, their relationship suffers, their gym suffers, their
Mm-hmm.
students suffer, they suffer. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's only so many of you. You're one person, and I think when you exhaust your resources, and let's be honest here, let's talk real. I mean, a lot of grandmasters we know have passed on at an early age. Some have gone through difficult times. So you got to make sure you know what your end goal is, and make sure that what you're doing, the people around you support that. Obviously, like you with your wife, you're both doing Kali. How wonderful is that? I mean, I can't tell you how many people are saying that right now. I wish I had that going on, but sometimes that's not always the best.
Well, thank you
Just
for that.
saying.
Well, so let me ask you, when, like you said, people have different, and we talk about that a lot. People have different journeys and paths, and people come to the class for different reasons. What made you decide to take the path and road of instructor, and specifically in all these arts, but obviously here today, PTK?
So I got into that in those paths. Let me backtrack. I left Guam when I was 18, and when I first saw martial arts, I was in San Jose, California, 18 years old, and I joined a gym. I didn't understand what it was, but it was a traditional martial arts gym, but they did MMA. So back then, if people understood back then, the first UFCs, we're talking single digit, like 1 through 9. There was a lot of traditional martial artists that came onto the scene, right? If you guys remember, it wasn't as blended. I was in a school that focused on traditional martial arts, but we actually blended it in what we called back then no holds bar. So my exposure to martial arts before that in Guam, you just fight. I mean, I just grew up and it was around us, the culture. I am Filipino, 100%. From my parents are from Iloilo, but growing up in Guam, that's just back in the early '90s, late '80s, just kind of just what we did, Um, Later on, I ran into somebody doing sticks. Let's fast forward a little bit, and I'm in Washington, and I see this gentleman playing sticks, and I kind of asked him. I said, "Hey, what is that?" And he said, "Are you Filipino?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, that's your art." And I was like, "I have an art?" I mean, you should see my my expression was like, "Wait, I have an art. My
Yeah.
culture has an art." So I called my dad, and I got excited. I'm like, "Dad, I'm learning stick and knife, da 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 da." He's like, "Yeah, I know. Your grandfather did that." And I was like, "What? Your Lolo?" So your Lolo did that. So that Lolo. Uh-oh. Okay, there we go. We're back.
I
So,
know my heart.
so when he said that, I was kind of confused why he never showed it to me, and it just goes to like with a lot of other Filipinos. It was an art that a lot of parents didn't want their kids doing because there was a lot of fighting involved. And when you fought, I mean, back in the old days, I mean, they fought. They hit each other with sticks, live rattan, and people got stabbed, people got beat up, sometimes to the death, right? So I understood why he hid that, and it was a lifestyle too that maybe might associate with a little bit more violence. There might be some dark elements to it. So he wanted me to focus on school.
Mhm.
Hello, am I
Yeah.
there still?
Yeah, we're here.
So he wanted me to focus on school and get and just do good as and not follow his footsteps basically. Um, so that's how I got involved. And then when when I ran into Dr. Kelly and Jim Bobby and even Grand Tuhon, all that stuff was just through exploring the men that who I wanted to associate with and what they had to offer, and did it resonate with myself. That's probably the biggest thing. Did it resonate with yourself? Because there's a lot of FMA systems out there, but you got to find what resonates with you and what rings true to what you're trying to accomplish and what your goals are.
What was it about PTK or Pekiti Tirsia Kali that resonated with you?
Well, it was at a seminar. Grand Tuhon was teaching, and mind you, I've missed his last so many seminars over the years. It just didn't line up with my schedule. And then finally, I'm like, he's in Seattle. I gotta go. I gotta go. So I partnered up, and we were playing. And Grand Tuhon walks by and says, kind of looks at me, just kind of asks if I was Filipino. Then we kind of researched our last names. I actually put my mom on the phone with him and find out we're sort of related via marriage. And so he's just like, hey, you're my relative. This is your art. In fact, you're Visayan. You need to study this art. He goes, you need to come to Philippines with me. And I was just like, okay. So I said yes. I mean, it was just kind of spur of the moment. Mind you, I didn't have any resources at that time. I didn't. It's not like I booked a ticket. It's not like I was waiting to spend money to go to Philippines. And so um, I went to Philippines, and it was an experience. Almost 3 weeks of training, and I've never trained in the motherland at that time. Every Filipino martial arts training was out here,
Mhm.
and so him and I connected at a deep level. He reminded me so much of my grandfather. We talked about the old ways, and so when I saw Kali and saw how deep it was, and when I say deep, guys, I'm talking real deep. I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out Kali and PTK. There's, I mean, you get introduced to one thing, and then pretty much you're like, wait a minute, there's that layer to it. And over the years, GT has just exposed only so much of it. So you can study this for a lifetime, and you're just going to run into more and more things, especially some of I like to call them the old guard. The guys that have been around with them for a long time,
That's
and
right.
what they experienced, what they've went through, and some of these OG guys. I think that knowledge, we have to preserve that. We have to get in touch with them, and really, what was Doce Methodist at that time? What was Sabayan at that time? What was the interpretation of CBOT? What was GT showing at that time in that frame and in that time space and double stick or spotted daga or whatever double knife. So it goes deep, and it's crazy because you'll see little bits here and there, and GT has a way of kind of showing it to you. The most I've learned from GT, and I'm gonna say this for me personally, I'm not speaking for anybody else or any groups out there or whatever, is when he and I connected one on one. There's no, there's not this group, there's not military, there's not police, there's not Westerners, there's not Filipinos. It's him and I just having dinner. He tells grab a stick, and so it's just you can't because something told him to show Belton this thing. As a teacher, and even me being a teacher and a Tuhon, you see that in your own students. How I'm going to teach you is different from how I'm going to teach the next guy. But in a group setting, you have to kind of bring it to level so everybody gets the best of both world of all the worlds. And then how you teach 5 people is different from how you teach 50. And then if you have 50 military guys or 50 martial artists, or you have 7 Tuhons in there, I mean, it changes. And so a lot of times when people and they have not shown up to training because we wake up in the morning, GT's at my hotel, and we're about to train, and where is this person? Where is that person? I'm like, I don't know, GT. They had a rough night. I don't know. They're tired. It's like, let's go train. That's the best. And I would like say thank you for not showing up, everybody, because I got some time in with GT. So it drew me in. It drew me in. The layer. I guess your original question is what attracted me. PTK was the philosophy and the mindset. The philosophy, and when you train on philosophy and concepts, then you're not stuck on 17 drills. You're stuck on one concept that encompasses 57 drills. You're not, the concept of same time rather than it has to be this way. Does it? And so then the people who memorize moves, they go to Professor YouTube or Grandmaster YouTube, and they try to absorb that. They're the ones who are going to get lost. That's when their journey becomes a little swayed left and right. And not to say that can't be done, because I've looked at YouTube, and I've actually even put up videos breaking down other people's moves via YouTube, but only after a certain level of understanding of the art. So some people can do that.
Right. And I totally understand and agree that, it is those, very personal moments with instructors that really shape your understanding. But the beautiful thing, like you said about Kali, is that, it's easily transferable, because if you pay very close attention and you're very understanding, you can see how empty hands transfers to knife, double stick. And so, as someone who trains multiple arts, do you teach in a way where you allow your students to learn transferability from like one system to the next, or do you try to keep them their own separate entities and say incorporate it in your personal life or in your sparring? What do you do?
I made a promise to GT that I would not mix his art. So when PTK is being taught, it's being taught as PTK, but you can have a conversation in the middle of certain demonstrations where you can say, look, whether this is just your fist or this is a pen, this is a knife, this is a whatever it is in your hand, that same movement, it translates. I do that especially during self-defense seminars, because a lot of them will have the aha moments, and then they get it. That transferability. I think that's up to the instructor. I think it's the instructor's job to kind of bring that to light. After a certain, while you're teaching, and if you're showing a certain move, then you say, look, guys, and you make that connection, and you can see it in their eyes. You can literally just see that little twinkle, or they're like, whoa, like you can almost hear the light bulb pop in their head. So it's kind of cool. It's even cooler when you see a higher level practitioner from a different art sit through a seminar you're teaching, and then they themselves have an epiphany. I touched hands with I don't know if he's a 7th degree, 8th degree Kaji Kembo or Kaji, yeah, I think he was a Kaji Kembo guy, and they were just going through stuff, and he was getting frustrated. And I told him, hey man, just just bring it down a notch. Let's figure this out. And I showed him the movements, and I explained it via how he was seeing it from his eyes, and the arts that he experienced, and it clicked for him. So the transferability, it depends on the audience. I guess you asked me how do I teach that. It depends on the audience. If the audience can handle that concept, but that might be a little bit too much for some people, but I always mention, hey, the knife in the hand, the stick in the knife, they're all related, right? It's all,
Yeah.
all the movements are related. So if you say even just that piece and cover that, then you can bring it and circle it back in. But you have to try to find that moment. It's all timing, man. It's all timing. What does GT say? Speed, accuracy, timing, precision. It's all timing. So even in your teaching, your time, you have to say right there. Do you see it? And then they go, oh, okay, I do. Or as we're doing empty hand, you just tell them to drop the knife and do the same thing, and they're like, oh man, that relates. So I think a good teacher will find a way to incorporate it in. As far as explaining that, a good teacher will create those aha moments. A bad instructor would probably just do it this way. Why? Because I said so. A good teacher will relate to somebody. We'll look at the audience, really study the audience and study their body language, even their eyes, and just how they're asking questions, and them getting frustrated. the Krav Maga group that I taught, and we did the impact wrench, which looks like a karambit. Basically, it's a reverse knife. And I just picked up a knife and I go, check this out. Does it matter? And then they're like, whoa. And at the same time, I grabbed somebody and I changed the tool in their hand, and then they started moving differently. And I said, look, your tool dictates sometimes how you move when you have it in this position versus that position. If you had a hammer, do you start thinking more impact based? Or if you had a knife, you start thinking bladed. Or do you think bladed all the time? But how do you find that within your hand movements? So those moments were created because instructor is more keen and aware. So if they're keen and aware of who their audience is and who they're teaching, rather than making it about themselves, they'll capture those moments, and then the knowledge is passed on. But if it's about me, just showing my how cool and how the cool shit that I got, then I mean, people are just nobody cares. You know, maybe the new guy might be like, "Ooh, oh wow, you look like Jason Bourne," but outside of that, no, you know, because there are some high level practitioners in there too. And just to touch on what happened Sunday morning at 2 a.m. So Sifu Asiatic is a Wing Chun master. His line goes straight to Ip Man, to Wang Chung Neong, to Ang Young Kim, then to him. So he's 3 down from Ip Man. And basically, he was showing me his Wing Chun. And I said, hey, let's do some Chi Sao. And we were playing. And from somebody who's dedicated that much time in his craft and his art, and even me just touching hands with them and doing the Chi Sao, then I changed it up and I got bladed on him. And he went, that's the difference between how you do it and we do it. There's intent with the weapon in your hand. We just do it for drill sake. And so that was really cool, that interaction from a high level martial artist. But it takes a lot of suppressing the ego and humbling oneself to to get those moments, because then I want to win, or he wants to win, or he wants to hit me first. I want to hit him first. You know, there's a lot of good consent. There's a lot of like, hey man, let's do this for the sake of learning, for the art. You're a high level practitioner. Let's do this. And so the art's not going to grow if we keep allowing those egos to come up and try to always be the guy. You know, I think I diverged a little bit, but I hope that I brought into some good points here too.
I mean, you made a lot of good points. I mean, to jump off of, you know, from our standpoint, we're one-on-one with the responsibility of the instructor. For us, it's not so much about teaching; it's about learning. And we try to get inside. How does this practitioner learn? And then, of course, we have the content, but we adapt the material to how that person learns, and then that kind of nourishes them and feeds them in a certain way. When you say that about the your experience with the Wing Chun practitioner, I've been working on this. Well, we've been working on this like assessment, the Pekiti Tirsia Kali assessment. You know, you have all these organizations, businesses that have assessments for their, you know, the people in the organization. And at schools, we always assess teachers and we always assess students. You know, and you know, what are the things that would make an instructor or a practitioner right or one with PTK? And humility is definitely, you know, that I'm just talking about assessment in general, but that aspect of being able to say, oh, wow, you got me right there, or I learned something, or I wasn't expecting that. We take the standpoint when that happens in our class, it just helps everybody grow.
Right. And I agree that, you know, it's important for the arts to be, you know, emphasized in their own space, because there is not only a philosophical standpoint for that particular art, there's also a cultural element. And so you, as someone who is Filipino, you know, how much do you infuse your cultural understanding and tie it in with Kali? Because, you know, I train in African martial art, and I try to infuse African culture just for understanding for the practitioners and so they can feel connected. So do you instill any cultural aspects?
Do you encourage or require?
You know, I encourage. If you require something and you put it as a demand as far as part of their journey, then it's not authentic to them wanting to learn. Because if you tell them they have to, and there's not as much of a desire. They'll listen. They're your students. They'll listen. Okay, but if they want to, if they want to, they get into it deeper. They become more of just a student that's going to be there for a long time. A student that's going to want to encourage others to share the art too and the culture. You know, and I learned that a long time ago. You know, you can't. I think this is an old discussion with my mom. It's like, son, you need to go to church. I go, yeah, well, why would I want to go to church if I don't want to go? Just because you want me to go. I go, I want it, Mom. And this is a little bit when I was older. And not to talk back disrespectfully, I was just saying, Mom, I'm just gonna sit there and sulk and just like, why am I here? Because I had a bad week. You know, I gotta want to do that. I want to show up and I want to, you know, take part. I want to sing. I want to praise. You know, I gotta want to do that because then if I don't, then it's not authentic. Then what's the point? So I encourage. You know, I talk about it because, you know, as you're doing the art, you explain the culture of Filipino martial arts, but I don't require it. Now, as far as me, I require that of myself
Right.
to make sure I have the duty and the responsibility. I don't force it on the students. They themselves will absorb it, and the delivery of how you do it is probably what's the most important as an instructor. You can deliver it a certain way. You can deliver it as a beautiful art, or you can talk to military. You can deliver it as a killing art. You can deliver it as a survival art. You can deliver it as an art that is a lifestyle and a mindset. You know, we believe in success, not failure. We believe in health, not sickness. You talk about that philosophy, and it's up to the person and their discernment at that time to whether they want to receive it or not. And that's what's gonna, whether you have 20 students or 10 students. But I tell you what, I'd rather have those 10 than the other 10 that are just not there. They're not bought in. So you do your best as an instructor. And it's hard because we have to run gyms. We have to sustain a business. I get it, you know, but at the same time, I'm not going to water down anything and not tell the truth of what it is, you know. So I'm going to tell it, deliver it in such a proper manner. They can receive it, and then they can make a decision for themselves. Um, that's the thing about Filipino martial arts is it's not something that people just Google and go, I need to learn knife. It's just, you know, they usually come in because of the Muay Thai, they come in because of Brazilian Jiu Jitsu, then they see the stick and the knife on the side and the other class going on, and they're like, what is that? You know? And their curiosity, you know, you start quenching that thirst, and then you start delivering knowledge, and then you bring them in and bring them into the tribe, into the family. But if I told them no, they must grab a stick, they must do angle one and angle two, they must step out 45-degree lunge and then 1,000 reps. That's not meant for everybody. It's meant for me. And when I go to Philippines, it was 2,000 reps. So it's meant for me, but because I already dedicated myself to it. So there's a crossover point when a student's going to be like, I dedicate my learning to this and I see value in it. But that's up to the instructor to build that value and actually create that interest and desire. So, you know, I blame a lot of instructors for the lack of the spreading of the art, or, you know, the misinterpretation of the art and how it's oh, well, hello there, and how it's interpreted or not interpreted properly, right? So see, like 1, 2, 1, 2, sabayan, you
Exactly.
know.
Right there. That was a good one.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. You know, it's beautiful. We have our first comment from in our chat group, and someone is just expressing that they had learned various types of eskrima. However, they could not find Kali where they're from, which is South England. And you know, there's a lot of conquered territory when it comes to PTK nowadays. But what advice would you give to someone who may not be able to find an affiliation or a PTK group in their surroundings, but wants to train it?
um, England, I know Tuhon Jimmy's there, Penlilio,
Correct.
and so I would reach out to him. I always reach out to the nearest, most accessible PTK instructor. Then use the references they have because they're probably more familiar with that area. So, for example, if somebody had questions about PTK in Utah, then I would say, well, the closest one would be your Idaho guys, and Washington and Oregon. So you kind of go a little bit more lateral and just find out who's closest and research from there. But at the same time, there's a lot of resources online. There's a lot of people who do train and Skype and do things like that too. So it's not like you can't get it. Information's out there. It's whether whether you actually touch hands. What's that?
You have to be proactive.
You have to be proactive, and at the same time, you can do it online. It's not the same though. And so I've known practitioners who've trained via material that they received, and then they've polished up that material by coming to a Grand Tuhon seminar or the nearest PTK seminar in the nearest state. Back in the day, we didn't have YouTube, man. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have all the social platforms. We drove hours
And by back in the
knowledge.
By back in the day, you could literally say like maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. This is really a new phenomena of sharing information.
And that new phenomena has its advantages and disadvantages. There's a lot of crap that goes on online. There's a lot of stuff that really gets in the way of the knowledge that's supposed to be passed out, and to try to sift through all that is really bad, because the new practitioner who's earnestly wanting to seek knowledge runs into just muck, and then they have to go through this muck and try to figure out what's going on, and maybe I shouldn't do that art because it's bad. Maybe I should do this art because that guy looks cool. He looks like a grandmaster. Back then people could post a picture with a knife and just do this and say, I'm a knife practitioner. Sometimes instructors out there, if you really want to have a more authentic online presence, put a video up. Your movement doesn't lie. Make it live feed so you can't edit, because your movement can't lie. And I challenge instructors. I challenge instructors out there because I done it. So at least I can talk and back up what I say.
Correct.
I've gone on live and I've moved what with live feed. Then it's not edited. I know to edit your stuff, and I do too. Why? Because it's a good promo material. I'll edit, I'll cut off that part. But sometimes your authenticity and you making mistakes and you fumbling in what you're saying and your movement pattern might not be that fast. That might resonate with somebody who's new. What if Mrs. Jones, who wants to learn PTK, doesn't need to see a tattooed up bald guy who's stab kill, but he's just doing nice flows to beautiful music. I don't know, guys. I think this day and age of technology has its ups and its ups and its downs, its quirks and its benefits. I mean, even my look has its benefits and doesn't have its benefits. Having tattoos and bald and just coming out there with a knife and posing, come learn from me. That might scare a lot of people. And am I helping the art, or am I helping a certain look for the art? So
right. We have our second question on our chat group, and that question is, what do you think the key is to bridge the different PTK organizations? That's a deep question. I know for us, we are definitely everyone definitely has their who they relate to, who their direct teacher is, and that does create different affiliations. And however, I find that there's a lot of people who might have had friendships and camaraderie before some of those affiliations were created. And so, I think that generally people, try to stay loyal to their affiliation, but we might miss each other. I think we honestly, people might miss each other. So what is your advice to how we can bridge the different affiliations so that we can stay, connected and keep the brotherhood and sisterhood that's just so strong in PTK?
Man, you know what? I'm the first guest, and you guys threw me. You threw me the Hail Mary, huh? It's all good. I invite that.
Yeah. I know what it is.
Okay.
Let me. That's now. Someone said Belton's talking too much. No. We got to make it more interactive. Before we throw you, let me help out here for a second too. You said something earlier that I thought was also very, very beautiful. Your interaction and your personal experience with GT is what made it so special. And in 2013, when we decided to decide to become instructors and take it to another level, I made the personal commitment shortly thereafter, joined by my queen, to go out there and travel as much as we could, and not just to seminars, but to visit groups, not just to see Tuhans, but to just see, anybody and everybody that was out there doing PTK. And one of the things that left us with was a lot of one-on-one personal experiences with people that we, for the most part, always had great impressions in the PT community. I don't know, everyone just showed us their best side, or and so for myself, just to kind of help here and answer the question, it takes a lot to get out from behind the screen or get out from your class and actually go and experience for yourself firsthand what you see beyond. We all have our bubble. Do you know your bubble? Whether it's art, your life, or PTK, to go beyond that bubble and see for yourself firsthand what you experience. Was that a good assist, good brother?
That's one of numerous ways to answer that question. And every way and every method to get towards that greater goal or greater good is dependent upon that person, because some people possess the ability to handle it a certain way and some people don't. Some people don't have that ability. They try and they make things worse. And I'm going to emphasize that. Some people are trying, but they don't have the ability to be a good moderator or a good mediator, and then they're only making it worse. Okay. And I see it all the time on social media. That's why I'm bringing that up.
Yeah.
Let me reference something here. What's the most diehard fans in football? Name a group of fans. Just a football team.
Hey, the
Football team.
fans
Philly
and
fans,
Philly
we're
fans,
crazy.
they just won the Super Bowl not too long ago.
Okay.
We're here in Philly.
All right.
So Philly, if you
We're-
listen, you're some serious fans.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you how
All right.
serious we are. We're so serious that we boo our own players when they do bad. That's how serious.
Right. Okay. Okay. So and I heard Philly fans and their sports are a big thing. You ever hear jokes about Raider fans? You ever hear jokes about Green Bay Packer fans? Here's the thing. There's PTK fans, and there might be different. PTK is like NFL, and you got different groups. Hey, man, we can go and bash each other's teams, or we can talk about the beautiful game called football. So which is it? Do I bash the Phillies the Philly fans, and I bash the organization, the players, or we say, hey, man, remember that one beautiful pass? What about that one block, or geez, that one run? That was a beautiful one, and that was your team that did it. That was beautiful. So it depends on the focus point. A lot of stuff that people are arguing about sometimes doesn't even concern them. It's something in the past that was between two people that was maybe a miscommunication, this, that, and the other. And too many people are trying to take up the torch, and they won't let these things heal on their own. And so you can't heal something when you just keep opening up that Band-Aid and pouring salt in there. Sometimes you just got to let time do its thing and allow people to make right, to allow them to make right, to do right to others. So to answer your question, how do you bridge?
And I had something to that, Brother Belton, that you just said too.
Go ahead.
That's really interesting right there. That it's a certain way.
Hello? Hello, hello, hello. Mhm.
We live, we back.
Yeah, we're back.
Man, are you still with us? Okay.
Oh man.
There's a lot of energy out here right now with this conversation. I think that's kind of what's going on. I just want to give just a half beat of time for everybody to tune back in. Okay. We don't know we did a lot of test run on our end. Everything's been working fine. So okay, right now we're having a great conversation, and I'm talking about I work in a high school and I see a lot of students on social media, and I see the back and forth, literally wars that happen between neighborhoods and groups of people. So I look at that and I'm like, I want no part in that. I jump on social media to promote, Kali and to stay connected with friends. But I see a lot of comments. It's almost like we were joking about the post that instructors make earlier. It's almost the comments now that are more incendiary. And from our perspective, the commentary is also getting in the way of these bridges being gapped. When it's playing out on a public forum amongst people who are not 100% for the best interest of the system. And so we want to be more responsible on social media. That's just one of the thoughts I had. I don't know how you felt about that.
I think my upbringing actually helped out a lot in how I stay grounded, even balancing all the arts. Just a little background. Growing up in Guam, a lot of my other cousins were also in gangs, and I would know 5 different gangs, 5 different factions in my school, and then 5 is just a rough number. I'm just throwing out there.
Exactly.
I would say hi to this group. I would also high five that group. I would go to the party and hug these guys in that group. I would, not ignore these guys in that group. Why? Because we all grew up together. At one point, they made decisions to go here and there. That doesn't take away from the fact that I knew these guys when they were kids. That we grew up. They're different. They chose a different path. They chose a different lifestyle. I don't judge them for that. And some of them now are upstanding leaders in the community. They're joined the military. Some of them are police officers, married, kids, this, that, and the other. I think I never joined. I think when I was growing up, I never joined a gang, but I maintained civility between all the gangs. So how would I bridge PTK or FMA in general? I can only do what I can do to the best of my ability. So I need to be a good Tuhon. I need to be a good guru for Balintawak. I need to be a good NSI senior instructor. By being those three good in all those three, people see the goodness out of those 3 arts, and then they'll make correlation like, if he can do it with those 3, why can't I? How is he maintaining that? How is he not bashing one and not in the other? How is he not like, PTK all the way, screw the Balintawak, or never mind NSI, but screw Balintawak, PTK all the way.
Right.
And how do you stay in the middle? What do I have to gain by bashing one or the other? These men have given me everything, and all I can do is honor that, and is honoring that, bashing the other arts. It's funny because look at some of these things, and you don't see a lot of great big Tuhon names jumping in.
Hey,
and
family,
bashing.
hang on.
Yeah.
We're still here.
Yeah. I mean, you still keep talking? Should I keep talking still? Yo, Ross, should I keep talking? Can you hear me? Am I good? Oh, okay. So it says keep talking. Um, so anyway, what I was saying is, carry yourself in a respectable manner, and for those of you who are
Hey, okay. You're being patient with us. We're learning. We're instructors. We train. Okay, we're learning. This is an unexpected fluke. Stay with us. Hang in there. We want to keep going. Belton, please keep talking, brother. Oh, we lost Belton. Belton, hang in there. Hang in there. All right. So again, family, we're learning about the platform. Some of you broadcast media people, email us, livebladeptk@gmail. Got to talk about this. Some troubleshooting we got to do. This was unexpected. All right, but we appreciate you hanging in there. We're going to continue with the show until Belton can get back on. Okay, so
There he is.
All right, there he is. There he is. We really appreciate you, Belton, and everybody else viewing. We're going to troubleshoot this situation. Totally a Wi-Fi thing that it's saying on our end. Okay.
Right. So real quick, let's just a quick question for you. What is your next area of study? What's the next thing you want to learn in your training?
I'm never going to stop learning PTK because it's so deep. I'm not going to stop learning. Even with the Balintawak, getting a level 7 guru just means you start back to zero, because coming up with 24 techniques, all that did was give me 5 variations for each one and re-explore how to counter my techniques. So I'm constantly I'm playing chess with myself, and sometimes I'm winning, sometimes I'm losing. With Dr. Kelly's NSI, it's concepts, it's principles, and it's concepts. Explore the art within your art. He always says, explore the art within your art, Belton. So that never stops learning. For me personally, there might be exploration. I do a South African martial art, or it's not a martial art. It's a knife system called Piper. So it's a killing system. It's not an art. It's a killing system. It was developed by Nigel February founded that, and he studied the prison gangs and the gangs in the street, and how there was a similarities and how they would kill people. So I mean that's something that was kind of graced to me just recently, and I've been studying that. I study Silat, and I've been kind of diving into that. And my Brazilian Jiu Jitsu is still a journey, so I'm still learning that. Muay Thai, constantly re-exploring. So I have enough on my plate to keep me busy, but every now and then I'll drive up to Canada, visit Tom Detang, who was the successor to Tony Diego for the Kali Ilustrisimo. So it goes Tatang Ilustrisimo, Tony Diego, Tom Detang. So he's up in Vancouver. And, I visit other grandmasters when they come through town and just kind of find similarities. And at that point, I'm never stop becoming a student. So just come in, just put your head down, just listen, be a student. Because sometimes it's good to be a student. It's fun to be a student again. It's fun to sit there and just hear another presenter because I'm watching them. I went to a Henry Gracie seminar. You know what I got out of it? It wasn't the technique. It was how he taught. It was how he was looking throughout each room, how he was acknowledging everybody, how when he did a move and he saw somebody do a move, he got excited, like, yes, that's it right there. And just how he was so full of energy. I learned more by his teaching than the seminar on the moves itself. So I'm always going to constantly keep learning and also doing my part, like bridging, like there's a gathering of Tuhans this August. That's going to be a real treat. And just saying, all Tuhans out there, the PTK family, we meet. Let's just sit down. Let's talk. Let's all just get together. You know.
That's great to hear that humility. That's great to hear that humility, brother. Especially from a Tuhan. When you got promoted to Tuhan, was that exciting? Was it nerve wracking? What was that experience like? For us, Tuhan, obviously, that is a great and commendment on that and respect to that rank promotion recently as well. Talk to us about
it. So I only had 2 ranks in PTK. I don't know if people know. I was an Agalon and the Tuhan. So I studied with GT for years. And there's kind of a funny joke because GT ranked my students before me. And he kind of forgot about me. So I love you, GT, but you did forget about me. And he did it because he just said, Belton, go teach. Go teach. He just told me to teach. It also happened to me with Dr. Kelly. So I was with him 10 years, and he asked me to bring my black belt to a gathering of some 8th degree Shotokan guys to show them some FMA. I said, what black belt? He goes, the one I gave you. I go, you never gave me one. He's like, yeah, but I thought I did long ago. I go, no, you never gave me one, Doctor. He goes, but you are. And I went, well, thank you. I appreciate that, but you never gave me one. To me, it's the fact that these grandmasters know where you're at versus what's written on paper. That's the most important thing. They know that they saw you as a leader before you even got the belt or the plaque or the whatever you want to call it. So when Grand Tuhon says, go teach because you're an FMA instructor, and then he's ranking my students because they obviously are showing skill development and they're showing that they're learning the art. What does that say about me as an instructor? I don't need no rank. I just showed you who I was. And so then I got my first rank in New York. I was actually there. I got Agalon. And then years go by. And then this February, he just gave me a 5th Hakdan Tuhon title. And yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't expect that, actually. I knew that I was going to get a rank. I didn't know what it was. And I'm blessed that he did give me that. And, it was a surprise. It was a complete surprise. I thought it was going to be a mandala or something, but I thank him for that. And all that did was, and what most people have to understand, rank is just kind of like, you ever go to the mall and it says you are here, and there's a little dot? Yes. It says you are here. Yeah, that's all it is, man. Sometimes you're not even there. You have to get there. So with your rank, you have to remember, you have to rise to the occasion of your rank sometimes. And rank can be given because of your propagating and development of the art. It could be a combination of skill set and how you're spreading the art. Whatever GT's choices and why he makes the decision what he does, there's reasons behind it, So, I would like to think he saw skill, leadership, and somebody who's helping spread the art. And I think that's why he gave me that rank versus, whatever else other reasons are there.
Agreed. Really, not to interrupt you, Tuhan. We're running around in the middle of the day. Jenna's going to she's got to make a quick run. She wants to sign off to you and the community real quick.
Take care. Many blessings to you, Tuhan Belton. Great speaking with you. Peace, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Definitely agreed about what you were saying about rank. It's definitely skill. It's experience. I think what I've observed too is also, there are certain people whom I've observed, they may not, they're guardians. They're going to be there for the long haul. And even if they don't have certain skills, some people have reached a certain age, which that their commitment and their investment to seeing this to the finish line is 100%. Things I've appreciated about you, Jen and I, we were saying, is that you get in there, you're not only technically precise, but you get in there and you fight. You're not afraid, regardless of your rank. Like you were saying, get in there, put your body on the line and just, hey, see what I can do. And so, from our perspective, we respect your rank and we salute you as such, and definitely want to say again, congratulations for it.
Thank you. You have to fight when you get rank. on the third day, we expect you to at least touch sticks and get out there and put your pressure test yourself. It'll say a lot about you. I know some arts say you don't have to ever fight. You can learn the forms, but it is a fighting art, guys. And I think you learn a lot about yourself. You know, you're in the company of brotherhood. You're in the company of sisterhood, and so, you know, test yourself. You know, if you have any, you need to understand yourself in situations, and going out there and fighting is going to really reveal a lot about your character, who you are at that moment, and then you share that space with that one person, and you develop a bond, and you will always remember when you fought that one mandala, or that one agalon, or that one tuhon, and it goes down in the history books. It goes down in your mind and your heart, and say, wow, that was good. I learned something. Well, you get a few stick hickeys, yeah.
Right.
But, I mean, it comes to the territory. So I'm not saying you have to, but I highly encourage, you know, within the spectrum of fighting, you at least go there and test yourself a little bit and challenge yourself, you know. You know, that's some people are all about that, and that's fine. You know, there's guys who are respected are dog brothers. One of the guys that teaches for me, he's a mataas na guru. He's my student. He's a full dog brother, and so we talk about fighting, you know. And he's a scary fighter, but we've had females in here who are 125 pounds. Give them a padded stick, and man, they come out of there going, oh my gosh, that was a thrill, and they're like, whoa, and you're like, yeah, there you go, more power to you, woman, you know. But if they never found a space they can do that in, and if they never found PTK, they never found an environment that they feel safe, that they can actually express themselves,
Right.
they'll never know about themselves. So I encourage you, man. And yeah, you know, I said this before, my skill is my rank. It's true. You grapple with somebody, if they roll like a black belt, they have to, whether it's not around their belt or not, they are a black belt in their mind, their skill, and their heart, and their movement. It is what it is, you know. So yes, you know, I encourage you.
You know, worry about yourself. You know, for other people who are, you know, just worry about yourself and worry about where you're at in your development.
Yeah.
Be worried about the next man and what the next.
Yeah, you know, back in the day when I was putting up videos, I was just putting it up just so I can remember stuff. Honestly, I was being selfish. I'm like, I'm gonna post this video. Why? It's kind of cool. And I'm like, cool. I can always reference it. Now my memories are like 7 years ago, and I'm doing this weird stick form, and I'm like, oh, that was me 7 years ago. Now, you know, I do a little bit more of passing on the art, and some cool things that I'm running into, sometimes some topics, and you know, I really challenge instructors out there. Put yourself a little bit more in video. That we are in this day and age of social media. Go put it out there. Let yourself be known, and show homage to the arts and to your grandmaster. And also, for those of you who are just posting pictures and deceiving the public and going, I'm a grandmaster of a knife system, this and that. Go live, man. Let me see your live feed. You know?
Yes, sir.
And yeah, I'm calling them out a little bit because there's a lot of people who are deceived that way. They're deceived into what reality is. And so this martial arts is very tricky, man. This martial arts game. And I'm not talking about FMA. I'm just talking about martial arts in general.
That's right.
You know, there's a lot of hokey pokey schools out there and a lot of muck dojos. And, you know, put some live feed up. Show us what you got, you know?
Right.
And with all due respect, if it's a dancing art, so be it, you know? But anyway, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. And you don't have to fight, like I said, but I encourage it. You know, just don't come to my school and try to fight me, because that has happened numerous times.
No, we encourage it. You know, we encourage definitely instructors out there. It's something we encourage our students, you know, at their level. Kind of like what you're saying, depending, I think, of how you were raised, people have different levels and thresholds of their relationship with violence. And so people who've never had a violent encounter and, you know, their experiences with it have been secondhand, you know, not a primary resource, you know, secondary resources, then we notice, yeah, there's a little bit more apprehension. Sometimes you just got to jump in the water. Instructors who don't keep their sword sharp and don't try to see where they're at and continue to experiment and validate their material. Agreed. We think that, you know, it's kind of like confusing the people, and it's almost whoever has the best marketing plan or branding scheme will become more recognized as opposed to how authentic they are or how much experience and knowledge they had. I guess that's
Yep.
so long ago, you know.
Yep.
Let me ask, what's one of your biggest struggles within PTK? What's one of the things you want to work on more? You know, if you don't mind sharing. You know, nothing too weak, no weaknesses here, but just saying, like, what's one of the? It's a complicated system, and so there's
It is.
to develop further. You know.
Yep. You know, when you run into some of the old school guys, sorry, Todd Phillip, I just called you old. I'm going to reference Todd Phillip. He's been with GT a long time, man. He is a 12th Huck Dan. You know, he is definitely a Tuhon who I respect. And when he shows me stuff that he's going to be my roommate at the gathering in Tuhon, so we're going to have a lot of late night discussions, and we'll probably play some sticks and knives. But when he shows me some forms that he's learned, or some old school stuff and material, and then he kind of gives me reference points, like where it came from, or the history behind it, man, that's valuable. That's some valuable stuff. So
Right.
that's what I need to work on, is gathering more of what GT has taught over the years. You know, another good example is, if you ever been to a Tuhon Dan in a Santo seminar, he throws a lot of good history. He throws a lot of good information, and capturing some of that essence and that history, because that history can go away, and we want to make sure we gather some of that that knowledge and that history. You know, where it came from, the influences, experiences. Tuhon Phillip, man, when every time I meet up with him, whether it's in the Philippines, or he came out here one time to Oregon, or we run into each other, and he shares with me some things, it's just, that's what I want to work on. It's just touching hands with all the Tuhons out there, really seeing how they interpreted what was information they were receiving from Grand Tuhon, and understanding how they perceived it, how they put it into their movement and their curriculum,
Yeah.
and their interpretation. And you know, I notice when I do this angle, I do this, but what GT meant was, when he taught me, he did this, and man, he threw me off by doing this, and I'm like, wow, GT, I did see. I think I told GT, Tuhon Phillip one time. I go, I did see this movement, but GT never explained it that way. He just made me rep it out, you know. So, but Tuhon Phillip, some of these men have had what I experienced with GT, the private time. They've had numerous private times,
Yes.
you know. And I can't turn back the clock in time and say, oh, I'm going to go back to Philippines the last 10 years and do that. You know, my time with GT is my time, and in the future, as we get busier, am I going to have more time? So the men who spent 6 to 8 hours with him for months upon months upon months, yeah, I had 3 weeks from, oh my goodness, 6 in the morning to like 9 o'clock at night, but that's just 3 weeks. But at the same time, you can train and do one seminar with GT. What I did in 3 weeks is what most people do in 3 years, twice a week, because it's the hours, not the years, right?
Agreed. We will
So
go.
yeah. So with the hours, with that being said, I mean, you train 12 hours a day with Grand Tuhon. That's twice a week for 6 weeks. You do that, you know, do the math, right? If you do the math over a period of three weeks, 12 hours a day, 6, 7, 8 days a week. Like GT says, we train PTK 8 days a week, 7 days a week of 12 hours a day. And you do the math of somebody who only does PTK Tuesday, Thursday at 7 p.m., blah, blah, blah. Man, what you learn in Philippines alone, and you bring back to your tribe or your group, is invaluable. Now imagine my 3 weeks. Imagine the guys who lived with GT for 3 months, and the period of time when GT was just, you know, moving a certain way, had a different mindset or something going on that just inspired him for Tri V or this or that or the other. That's what I want to work on. That's what I want to research, you know, because I'm a researcher, man. I'm a musician. I'm a dancer. I'm a father. I mean, so those things will come out. I'll see patterns, and I'll see, hey, that's a dance. That's a move. I'll hear music. I'll hear timing. I'll see the rhythm. I'll see the half beats. I'll see the quarter notes. I'll see the triplets. And people are like, what? I go, yeah. And I put that all in my fighting. I put that in my teaching. I'm like, pa pa pa, pa pa pa, pa pa pa. You know, like, what's that? I go, you guys listen to music? Okay, who hasn't heard music? Come on. So, you know, all this stuff I think is just grooming me and honing me to be the instructor that I need to be, or the the practitioner I need to be, or the one who's going to help pass the art on, and what GT expects out of us, or any FMA system for that matter. it applies across the board.
Correct. Oh, brother, that's we were fortunate to be able to host GT here in 2015, and he stayed in our home for a few weeks. A drop in the bucket, a grain of sand, like you said, compared to the beaches that people have spent with him, and it was life changing. It was, in terms of being able to communicate and kind of like you said, not only communicate. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
About PTK, but to see his interaction with our daughters, to just see him on a more personal level, and how how humane, and then at the same time how awesome of a personality that he is. So I definitely wanted to.
Let me touch on that because people don't know GT. They what they see on Facebook is there's a GT who's in front of military, there's a GT in front of police, there's GT in front of civilians, there's GT in front of people from Philippines, there's GT in front of me, there's GT in front of you. There's the humorous side of GT, there's the singing side of GT, there's the cha-cha dancing side of GT. There's so many sides to GT that I don't think people have experienced Grand Tuhon and have made an accurate decision on what they want to perceive him as.
Agreed.
If you have the means and the resources and you can go out to Philippines and spend time with him, man, you'll learn a lot, and you'll see that side, that funny side, that the side that when he was in Philippines and he saw me coughing, he's just like, Bill, why are you coughing? And I was like, I don't know, maybe it's just the air. He goes, I'll be back. He drove with his driver. He brought me there. I don't know where he was going, but he brought me to get medicine, bought the medicine, gave it to me. He goes, I don't want you to be sick. No, this is a grandmaster going out of his way. Or he'll buy something. He goes, here, you got to try this. You got to try this. You're in Philippines. I should be treating him. I should be buying this. I should be doing that, or the concern he has in the look in his face when he hears about, my father or a family member. There's a human side to him, and then there's what people think he is on Facebook. So it's interesting because I think some of the decisions people make and their response, they're not fully understanding who he is, even culturally, how my grandfather spoke, my Lolo. Belt, do this, do that. I'm like, okay, I do it. They're like, no, I meant do that. You're like, you just said do this. Yeah, that's not what I meant, but that. You're like, what?
Well,
but it's a Filipino thing.
What you're saying is it's definitely how people respond. And what's interesting, a lot of the people who are not responding are also the people who I think would even, definitely would agree with you, whatever camp you are, about this side of GT that we're talking about. And most of the responses, I think, are from, with the exception of a few, are from people who don't really know enough to say anything at all. I never want to rob anybody of their experience. Just like I don't want to rob anyone to rob me of mine. My experience with, I said, most of the PTK community has always been positive, GT and all the Tuhans. And then I know there are some who have different experiences. And so, again, I think one of the responsibilities is for people to go out and have their own experience with GT, and just kind of, I would encourage for all instructors that are out there, because what you get in that, and not just experience a seminar, but like what Tuhon Belton is talking about, the cup of coffee afterwards, breaking bread, spending time. There's something different that comes out of all the instructors, Tuhans, and all of us in PTK.
Even the instructors that are quote unquote no longer with him give wonderful stories about him and talk about how much they love him and just the wonderful experiences. So there's a common theme there. And, and I'm not ever to say that GT is not without fault as a person, but who isn't? We're as instructors, we're not infallible. If anybody thinks if you think your instructor is godlike and not without wrong, you're under the wrong instructor. Okay. So you can't not say that we are not humans. We're humans. I'm going to say something. I'm going to regret it. I may have not should have said that. I may act a certain way, but we're only human. So all we're doing is striving to get better. And like I said, what I can do for the FMA arts is just be the best that I can be in those three main systems. I study other stuff too, don't get me wrong, but the three main systems where I can do my best to represent them accordingly in in its form that displays the beauty and the art, not anything else outside of that, you know. And then the other Tuan will display it in his way, and that Tuan will display it in her way, and this, you know, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, so what I can do is bridge that part, and then sometimes too I can bridge another part where one system might have a different interpretation of an attack, and then it'll cause another system to research and go back and go, huh, that was interesting, you know. And like that Wing Chun guy, you know, my Chi Sao was slightly different from his, and he was like, that's interesting, and I was like, yeah. And I told him, I go, you're bisecting the line, did you not know? And he's just like, bisect the line, explain. I'm like, well, so then guess what, we get to talk PTK, people talking Kali,
That's right.
to a Wing Chun guy, because I bisected his line, but to him that's just Tan Sao or
Right.
Bong Sao, you know. So anyway, yeah. Hey man, I gotta pick up my daughter soon here, so I just gotta
Well, I
make
appreciate
sure we.
you taking the time, good brother. We had a number of technical difficulties, you know, that kind of didn't get us to the heart of the topic soon enough. The vision here is to have this conversation going on off camera, off social media, for people to talk amongst themselves and continue this conversation. We want to thank you all for supporting. Belton, are there any updates, any notices, anything you want the people to know before you sign out? Oh, of course, your vision for PTK, if you could close us out with that, but also any other things you want us to let us know regarding your school and your camp.
So warriorstrengthmartialarts.com is my website. My email is warriorstrengthtrainer@gmail.com. I am hosting Grand Tuhon here, June 22nd, 23rd weekend, the weekend before he goes to Vegas and gets his award. So I will be hosting him here in Seattle. If you're in the Seattle area, come check him out. Outside of that, you know, literally my vision is for PTK is the amount of hard work that he put in is to do the same and just spread the art, because it is a beautiful art, and I want people to experience that just as I have experienced, but also encourage them to talk to those who also experience them in a different way, a different time frame, a different learning method, and also bring back to that, learn from those men and women and bring back to the tribe. So we just can kind of keep, you know, spreading, you know. So yes, if somebody, one of my students wanted to go visit Tuan Philip, go for 2 days, come back, share with me what you learned. I would love to just review my material. If not, go, wow, I never saw that before. So, and I'm just using Tuan Philip as an example because he is an awesome Tuan, but there's numerous out there. Like I said, the double knife I did with Tuan Apollo, you know, there's other Tuans out there that had received different information, actually the same information, maybe just taught differently, or maybe was different at that time because GT hasn't gone back to that material in a long time. I don't know. So some people who do PTK have never even touched the CBOT. And they're like, wait, you guys have CBOT? I'm like, yeah, we do.
That's
Like,
right.
what? See, so there's a lot of things. That's my vision for PTK, is just to honor that legacy and just keep spreading it, and to, you know, and to see where it can take us as far as a group, as everybody as a whole, and to put aside some of these differences and really just talk to each other, learn and grow, because the amount of energy spent in the stupidity of things that could have been spent elsewhere and growing it. So, you know, time is not infinite; it's finite, and if we waste it, then you can't get it back. So, got to think about those things, right?
Thank you, Tuhon Belton, so much for your time, brother. I definitely agree with you. We spend so much time talking about bridging and transferability. Maybe we could transfer some of these skills and actually bridge amongst each other. Make sure to check out the information for where you can contact Tuhon Belton if you'd like to, you know, learn more about him and get in touch with him in his program. We want to thank you again, Belton, for taking your time, and we want to thank you, the viewer, for participating and taking the time and supporting this platform. Okay, so loyalty, wisdom, respect, life, health, and success. Peace.
All right, guys. See ya.